If you are a gardener like me, you have probably been seeing all of the seed sales going on right now and trying to ignore them. This time of year is usually when seed companies are trying to get rid of their current inventory in anticipation for next year's seeds. So there are so many deals going on right now. Of course, I had to get in on it. Let's do a little seed haul. I garden on a patch of concrete that is sandwiched in between two buildings. So really the only sunlight I get is what can peek through the middle part. In the most ideal, sunniest time of year, I get 4 hours, but really it's more 1 to 3 if I get lucky. And because the space is technically a fire escape, I can only grow in 2 to 10 gallon containers, primarily grow bags and buckets. As you can imagine, this gardening setup poses a lot of unique issues, and so the seeds are really the key to what I can grow. Let's get into it. Starting with what I'm most excited to grow: flowers. Now, I've always been an edible crops girly. I have always in my mind prioritized food I can grow versus things that are grown for beauty. For me, and you might relate to this if you have a small garden, I felt like there was not enough room to grow everything, and so I really had to focus and prioritize on what I felt were high value plants, which were things I can eat. I've only really grown the sunflowers in the 2-gallon bucket that I have a short of, as well as the free amaryllis seeds that I got from Slode Garden Center a few years ago. Shout out to you for giving me free bulbs. But other than that, I could not justify setting aside space in my garden for flowers when I had all of these vegetables I wanted to grow. That was until I went to Singapore this month. In Singapore, they have this place called Gardens by the Bay, which is essentially this urban park. And even saying that, I feel like is a very simplistic explanation of what it is, because it is so much more than that. There are a lot of major attractions in the park. For this particular video, I really enjoyed going to the flower dome. It really inspired my love of flowers. That's so weird to say, my love of flowers. The entire flower dome was nice, but what I particularly was inspired by was the special exhibit where they had clusters of flowers planted so closely together. When I was looking at them, my brain just suddenly I understood why people love growing flowers in their garden. I understood why someone would take time and space from their limited garden to grow flowers, especially seeing them so densely packed like that, which is something that I've had to do out of necessity, plant things so closely together because I don't have that much space. It really changed my mindset of what value I got from flowers, and in that moment I decided to grow flowers in my garden. I don't even really care about the practical benefits. There are a lot of practical benefits of growing flowers, right? Like they attract pollinators and beneficial insects, which improve the biodiversity of your garden space, which then improve your actual harvest, like that in and of itself. I feel like I should have started growing flowers, but I don't even care about that part. For me, I want to grow flowers because they make me happy and they're beautiful. It can really be as simple as that. I'm still very much new to growing flowers. I am trying to learn as much as humanly possible about what to grow, how to grow them. I thought I would start out with a few California natives. I have mountain garland and semi-tall single Godetia. I thought that it would be a good start to do California natives because they are already supposed to be accustomed to growing in my climate, so they should require a little less attention. They're supposed to require a little less water and fertilizer because they grow so naturally in California. And I've primarily decided to grow in a very pink, purple, blue, white color pattern, so you're going to see a lot of those flowers. I researched flowers that do better in the cold and the shade, and I came up with these ones. I have evening primrose, I have hardy hibiscus, and I have Chinese forget-me-not. In addition to those, I've also ordered some viola/pansy seeds as well as snapdragons. I think from my research, all of these flowers should be a little easier to grow for me. But again, I don't know. I'm still learning and I'm in the beginning stages of growing flowers. If you have any tips for me regarding any of these flowers, or if you have any flowers that you think I should try growing because they grow well in containers or in the shade, please let me know. I would love to hear. But I'm very excited to grow these and I'm excited to take you along on my journey. I have 2 tomatoes. I really want to experiment plant and get good at succession planting. I feel like that is the secret to growing as much food as I possibly can, because it ensures that I always have something ready to grow, to harvest from. Even the few week gaps can lead to a few delays in harvesting and ultimately, less food. One of the ways that I'm going to do that with tomatoes is experimenting with determinate and indeterminate varieties. Surprisingly for me, I have mostly been growing in indeterminate varieties of cherry tomatoes, which is actually so funny because you would think that I would, start out with something more practical, like the dwarf varieties, the determined varieties, which grow a little bit smaller in containers. But you know what? I've been going full force on cherry tomatoes, and I will say that the indeterminate varieties do grow well where I am. This one is a tiny Tim tomato. First of all, can we take a moment to admire the artwork here? These seeds are from Hudson Valley Seed Company, and if you've never bought anything from them, they make special seed packets. Essentially, they commission artists to make illustrations for different seeds. And so as you can see here, we got Tiny Tim with his tiny tomatoes. I think that is so cute. By the way, I'll have the seed companies that I bought from down below if you're interested. They are supposed to be a super dwarf indeterminate variety of tomatoes. They grow these really small tomato plants that I think they don't grow any bigger than 18 inches, but it says here 45 days from transplant, so that is quite soon. I want to try to grow them earlier before I really put out my big indeterminate tomatoes to see if I can get a few harvests, and then I want to push more in December, November. I am trying to grow indeterminate tomatoes right now in the fall. If you've seen my short, you see that they're getting quite large, but I feel like I would have better success with determined varieties because they're not spending as much time growing big and spending more time developing fruits. And the thing is, if I grow more of these plants versus one big indeterminate plant, I think I can actually harvest more in the later months. And then I'm finally venturing into non-cherry tomato territory with this black rim tomato. I feel like I've been talking about trying to grow tomatoes that aren't cherries for the longest time, but if I'm being honest, I've been a little scared because I didn't want to grow them and fail and then feel like I've wasted a grow bag or two on them. But I feel like that is such a boring reason to not try to grow these tomatoes, because I feel like, one, I'm always learning. If I can't grow them this year, I'll grow them next year, I'll try to grow them the year after that. And two, you never really know if you can grow something or not until you grow them, and so I feel like I was really holding myself back from potentially growing some big juicy tomatoes. I have these black cream ones here, which I've heard other San Francisco gardeners have a lot of success with because they can tolerate colder climates. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I'm trying to grow eggplant from seed in the fall time, and right now they're looking quite healthy actually. They're getting big and developing a lot of leaves. I don't know if they'll develop fruit in the fall or if ever. I'm hopeful because they do look quite strong, stronger than any eggplant I've seen in my garden. However, if you know me, you know I always have a backup plan. These are the Millionaire F1 eggplants. The ones outside mature in about 60 something days. These supposedly grow in 54 days. That extra time means a lot in a small garden. If those don't work out, I'm going to try to grow these. In fact, I'm probably going to try to grow both of them anyway next year because, seasons make a huge difference. If I can't grow those out in the fall, I could try again in the early spring. Maybe I'll have better luck. These are an Asian variety as well, so maybe I'll make some sinigang or something like that with them. Similarly, I have been struggling to grow cucumbers in my garden. That is the one thing that I haven't had a lot of success with, mostly because I feel like I'm still experimenting with the right varieties that will grow in my colder, shadier climate. Last year or so, I came pretty close, but then they were eaten by the rats, and I keep mentioning the rats, but literally they're my mortal enemy. Not only will they eat my food, they won't even eat the whole thing. And I've mentioned this before, if you're gonna come and eat from my garden, you should eat the whole thing because it's disrespectful otherwise. I bought these Suyo long cucumbers, and I'm probably going to get the Bait Alpha ones as well with the intention of growing them under netting and protecting them from the rats that way. This variety as well as the Bait Alpha are self-pollinating, so they don't need any pollinators to produce fruit, which is going to be really helpful because they'll be under a net. So I'm very hopeful that, I'm getting closer and closer to being able to taste homegrown cucumbers. I don't know if you are on the same side of social media as I am, but I've been seeing so many posts about Row 7 Seeds. They are essentially the seed company founded by farmers and chefs with the purpose of deliciousness. Basically, they want to make produce that tastes really good, that you can cook with, that have artisan flavors. I have been seeing these posts all over, and so of course I've gotten curious. And the cool thing about Row 7 Seeds is they actually sell their produce at Whole Foods, which provides a very unique opportunity for growers like you and me. You know, sometimes when you're growing things from seed for the first time and you don't know, it's kind of like, oh, will these even taste good? But if you know what they'll taste like relatively beforehand, you can really decide for yourself if they're worth growing from seed or not. So I've been trying a bunch of their produce, their midnight tomatoes. I've tried a bunch of their squashes. I have some garlic in the fridge right now. Now, if you know me, you know I'm not a winter squash girly. I just feel like I'm not excited by winter squash or butternut squash or any of those squash varieties. I just think that's nice that they exist, you know, but I feel like the Row 7 honey nut squash has such a velvety, buttery, rich flavor that it really turned me on to butternut honey nut squash. And so I was scouring their website for some seeds, and I found out that that variety takes 110 days to mature, which is a really long time for someone with limited space, limited sunlight. I don't want to say impossible because I don't like saying that things are impossible to grow, but that's not a very practical, smart option for my garden. I looked everywhere and I found these Waltham butternut squash, which produce supposedly in 70 days. Now, this is the earliest variety of butternut squash I've been able to find. Usually they're even as long as 90 plus days, but this is not bad. I can do 70 days. Next up, I have 2 peppers. I've always wanted to grow peppers, but again, it's been something that I've been afraid of, but you know what? Now is the time. Picked up a sweet pepper, the Jimmy Nardello pepper, which is supposed to grow really well in San Francisco. I've seen a few San Francisco gardeners grow them, and they've had pretty good success, so I want to try. And I also have jalapeno pepper, which is supposedly also a good variety for San Francisco. These in particular are an early variety, so hopefully they'll be even better for me than the normal jalapeno variety. I find that sometimes, because I don't have as much sunlight, the days to maturity is a little bit inaccurate in the sense that it takes a little bit longer for me to grow things, and so I always try to find something that's an early variety. It kind of, you know, at least it kind of evens out to a normal variety. But my dad is a huge pepper fan. He will just have ghost pepper hot sauce with his normal food, just like very casual. I don't know why, but he really enjoys hot peppers. So if I can grow hot peppers, even if it's just a jalapeno, I feel like that is something that I'm excited to gift to him. Nearing the end now, so buckle up. We don't have, I feel like I should have said buckle up earlier because we're in the end now, so there's not really a lot of buckling up to do, but here we are. Seed sales are usually a good time to restock on seeds that you have enjoyed growing and want to grow again. So that's what I have here. I just have some sugar peas. Not a lot to say about that. They grow pretty well, they're pretty tasty. And then I have some dragon carrot seeds. I love growing these kinds of seeds where the inside is this yellow orange color and then the outside is this purpley red color. I know that sounds so dumb to be talking about food in colors, but a way to incentivize yourself to garden, because gardening is already so hard, there's already so many things you have to do, is to grow things you can't find readily at a grocery store, because you know that makes it feel more special. If I can just buy something at the grocery store for 50 cents, why would I want to spend, you know, 60 days trying to grow something? I really enjoy these dragon carrots because they, one, are very pretty like I've already mentioned, but they are a little bit spicy, and so I just love eating them literally straight from the garden. I feel like a bunny. Second to the last seed are these rainbow tatsoys. I have a lot of friends who grow tatsoys, so I think they do relatively well in San Francisco, but as you can see, they're just, again, stunning. The green leaves with the purple leaves and then this light pink veining. Oof. Gorgeous. Lastly, I have Tom Thumb peas, which again are from Hudson. And so you see Tom and his little lady with all their peas. They're so cute. Again, I want to experiment with succession planting. I think I can get away with planting this where I feel like maybe planting a full tall pea plant might not be the most ideal. But secondly, I want to play around with the different sizing in pots. Regular peas grow really well in San Francisco. The only thing is you have to really support them because they get quite tall, and that's normally fine, but I feel like in a container garden setting it's a little bit harder because you're sticking sticks into things and it's not as sturdy as, you know, putting a stick in the ground. These only grow up to 18 inches tall. I want to interplant these with the tall peas and grow more of them in a smaller space. That completes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm probably going to place a few more seed orders in the next couple of months just to round out the plants that I want to grow next year. There are a few more things that I think could do really well that I've learned from, you know, different iterations in the past. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, please, please give me the flower tips down below because I desperately need them. I want to be able to grow at least one bouquet of flowers next year. Until next time, bye!